All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 269 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board. Today I'm not joined by Lonnie, so hopefully he'll be around shortly, and if not, we'll see you next time. But present and accounted for are Marcus Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
And 69th Blizzard Ken. Gentlemen.
Here.
Welcome back. All right, what news do we have? Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys something. Being that I've been off the board a lot and working on my record and stuff like that, I kept seeing these posts about Kiss canceling shows or something like that. Guys got any details about that?
No!
Say it ain't so.
You have to remind me. Here's an open wound. Pour some salt in it. Rub it. Yeah, they've postponed both Oakland and Staples Center, which I just happened to be going to both of those until
it's
March.
Your fault.
Well, on the one hand, it's a bonus as I try and put on my rose-tinted glasses and spin this one around into the positive realm. San Francisco International Airport has currently got construction going on, and they're down to one lane. So there's been a shitload of cancellations and postponements and delays. So it's really a nasty time to be flying in or out of San Francisco. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's a nastier than usual time to be flying in and out of San Francisco because, of course, San Francisco has a reputation that's well earned. So, United, of course, said, well, you guys can rebook your flights in order to, So I figured, I'm going to get away with rebooking till March without paying the $200 rebooking fee. No. Nope.
Oh.
Did not get away. So at an additional $200 for my travel, the hotel room down there, which was I think $265 a night. I'm only doing one night. For September is now $535 a night in March, and I'm like, I don't think so. So
Really?
I'm not spending that on one night when I'm barely going to be there. So got to find another hotel. So we're so far $200 up. One of my tickets is electronic as well, which makes me very unhappy. And the other one, which I'm giving away, is paper, but they'll have to return the stub to me so I have proof I went to that show. So I'm pissed. I understand it. They've done a lot of shows, especially in the Los Angeles area in March, which is a very short period of time, and they got some really good results out of some markets that were expected to be down. Sacramento, which we went to in February, did very well. Iron Maiden's just played up there, and Kiss did more in audience and gate than Maiden did, and make of that what you will. But for someone who loves both of those bands, I'm glad to see good, strong results from either, and I'm glad that Kiss won the numbers battle, if not quite the deep catalog cuts battle. So Northern California has always been a stretch for them. Obviously, a few years back, they canceled Mountain View. Concord is rumored for, June next year? Where's my rumor thing?
What?
Because I have a lot of dates.
Concord?
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Yeah.
I saw something about San Francisco, too.
Yeah, I saw
5-minute drive.
June the 16th, Concord is rumored. And June the 14th, Irvine. And that's it for California. So,
I thought wasn't there San Francisco?
Maybe. Who knows? I've seen some dates rumored for San Fran, but I don't know because again, these dates that I have, I'm only pretty sure about one in January when the next leg is supposed to kick off. But obviously, I don't want to get a phone call from Mr. Simmons saying, "Now, Julian, what did we tell you about leaking?"
Well, you're right about the Sacramento thing. For instance, in the LA area, they've already, had people go, or probably fair weather fans go to those concerts. So they're probably not going to go see him a second time. those kind of fans. The diehards are going to come out, of course. So
some of the diehards won't, because they'll take it. That's Kiss said we're only going to visit your city once, and they've been to Montreal twice, Toronto twice, and this is Kiss, of course, and promoters. We're going to come to your city as many times as we can make a profit out of it.
Yeah,
I think would be the more accurate way of saying it.
Yeah, but they're attributing their kisses to a scheduling conflict, and I don't buy that based on the sales or all the dots on the chart and Ticketmaster.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah. As you just said, because of all those empty seats, people have not been able to get their schedules in conjunction with where the date is and their wallet is yet. So that's why it is technically a scheduling issue.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, I've also heard that they need extra time. This one will be a blast from 1997 to ship the stage to Australia. Apparently, getting the cheaper level of freight requires an extra 4 days. But I think in the end it is a business, and it is about wanting to perform in the strongest market, regardless of what the merchandise sales or the concessions or all those additionals will be for a venue. KISS doesn't want to have any optics of a poorly attended show. And come on, some of the shows that we've thought are going to be dogs, Barclays, Little Rock, have all done extremely well from those numbers that have been released. And I know people are saying, well, they papered it. Well, you know what? To the promoter, it doesn't matter. KISS doesn't make those decisions. It's a business decision. And if they can get the first 8,000 people to pay full price, and then they can fill them up with discounted tickets so that those people are buying concessions, paying for parking at the venue, and for KISS buying T-shirts, souvenirs, drumheads, whatever, programs, then the business side works itself out. And every time you buy a ticket now, it pops up. This is dynamic pricing. The pricing may or may not go up or down and whatever. So it's the modern market.
May or may not. I love that.
Yeah. Well, Paul Stanley's not ordering pizzas for an audience ever again.
As long as they keep hopefully the Oakland show is still going to happen in March. And I find it hard to believe, though, that they do a Concord so close to 3 months after an Oakland show, because that's just right in the Bay Area out here. So I find that hard to believe, unless they decide to cancel the Oakland show and just have Concord only. We shall see.
Well, I'm bummed, because obviously I wanted to, see all of the legs of this tour in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to see Crazy Nights performed. Sure. But I really wanted to see.
Serious.
But I'm more annoyed for selfish reasons. I was ready for another KISS show. It's been a few months. It would have been number 5 for me. But I still would have loved to catch up with all the California KISS buddies and see a show together. So yeah,
exactly.
It is what it is. I'll say we're lucky it wasn't canceled, because come on, it was pretty normal for Northern California. It was pretty weak. So. Embarrassing. I'm sorry. So off these dates that are kind of rumored right now, late May is when another U.S. leg is supposed to. And you know what? I'm taking it with a very large pinch of salt, because the last rumored dates I got weren't entirely accurate.
Yeah.
Hey, Lonnie.
Speaking of it.
What's up? Sorry about that.
Speaking of inaccurate.
Wow.
Wow. Just kidding.
So, cutting close, and all of a sudden I was stopped on the highway.
Yeah, we're just finishing up crying about our California dates being canceled, especially after having a nice invite to come out to St. Louis. Well, they might as well be.
Moved.
Yeah, moved. There you get a nice invite to come visit St. Louis, like Maryland Heights or whatever the heck that place is. And you're like, oh, I can't. It's my wife's birthday. And then you're like, rats. Maybe I should have. And then it's like, I actually looked at flights to Salt Lake City and looked at tickets for Salt Lake City. I couldn't talk myself into it. My wife was actually kind of understanding, but until I got to the part where it was, well, I'll be back for our anniversary.
Oh boy!
Then you got the look. Yeah,
the look of death.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into some of these. We got a little bits and pieces today. Anyone added anything into their collection? Mark's adding another album of his own into his discography. So, I mean, that's kind of the ultimate collectible, your own album. Ken, bought anything?
No, nothing new.
Lonnie?
No, nothing has arrived yet. I got my best of solo albums is finally on the way. After contemplation. It is on the way. It has not arrived, though.
Very nice. Oh, but
I got a new T-shirt.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah. Why am I not saying that? So I got a new T-shirt also.
Very nice. Very nice. But I did get something, though. It's not Kiss related. I did get myself a 7-inch promo of an Anderson Bruford Wakeman House single, and I did get myself a promo 7 single of a Yes song from the Drama album. So I am on my 7-inch kick for my Yes collection.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to talk non-Kiss, I did get a destroyed copy of Def Leppard.
Oh, I saw that.
I saw that. It looked nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, it cost $42 with all the discounts and free shipping and everything, and it really was treated like it was a discount. So
Have them send you another one.
Yeah.
Is that vinyl?
No, the vinyl one arrived perfectly, and it's put away, and I'm never getting opened. So I had actually gotten a digital copy of it, so I felt like I had to buy it to keep it legit. So,
Nice.
all right, let's go into some of the stuff. There's a lot going on the board, and it's not all about Vinnie Vincent. It just feels that way sometimes. Some
It should
days
be, though.
you go in there, and there's just a few too many Vinnie threads, so I just do lock. You know, just I call it euthanasia. You know, just a little bit of put it out of its misery before it starts suffering. So it's just preemptive medicine, kind of the Soviet way. So
Soviet way. Wow.
Yes.
So some of the cool stuff that's happened, and I don't know how much you guys follow this. This is more a Facebooky type thing. Is Bullfrog Beer. There's a really cool guy who I met this guy last year on the cruise. Ola Pecco, DJ Pecco is his kind of handle that he goes by, and he's been on a mission for years, and he's really into the Kiss family tree, and that's tracking down all, and literally we can say all of the people associated with pre-Kiss bands, associated bands, and he managed to dig up some photos of Bullfrog Beer circa, I think it's 1970 is now the date, with Gene Simmons in his tubby, slightly obese, blue flannel and beard phase. And he played with Bullfrog Beer in Sullivan County Community College, and he's now found out all of the members who, you know, were in that particular lineup, who have also confirmed that they were indeed the people who recorded Stanley the Parrot and Lita during a sojourn into New York City with Gene, which is really cool because there's always the thought that Lita might have been Brooke Ostrander because of the piano. Well, it wasn't. So that's nice to have definitively put out of its misery. But did you either of you catch any of that? I know, Mark, I don't think you did.
No, I'm trying to find it, by the way, but I have no luck.
I saw it. I was really intrigued by it. I mean, it's obviously a picture I'd never seen before. And I had to take a couple of looks at it to really figure out which one was Gene.
Yeah,
because
I saw the picture.
It's such a different look for it. It's very unusual face for him.
He was halfway to hippie.
No question.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I saw the picture, and then I started going back and looking at the lineup, and I noticed that the drummer's last name was Singer, which I thought was interesting. It's like we have another singer.
Distant relation?
I don't know. Probably not. And then I guess that there was a woman in the band.
Anna Dalva, who we've known about for years.
Yeah.
Who Gene actually denied ever having anything to do with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think this went back to when the Vault book was being composed. I was asked for some information. I threw that out there, and he was like, no. But and
No.
she's now pushing a single that's related, produced by Paul Sabu, which of course has more Kiss connections in because of
Sabu.
I call Sabu. He was Silent Rage, I think, had something to do with him. But of course, there were demos that circulated in the 80s, Rock Me Slowly and Wet and Wild, which were attributed to Eric Carr, which were actually off a Sabu EP, Sabu EP. So, lots of really cool stuff. I mean, he's done all sorts of rock work on both sides of the board. So, very kind of neat. But I think, what's really interesting coming out of that this is 50 years ago history. And it just goes to prove that more stuff is going to surface. More information is going to surface. We're never done. Any of those people out there who call themselves archivists or historians, that's why we do it. Because we know that there's always something else to uncover. Always something new to either clarify, correct. As I've always said, I love being corrected because it means I learned something. Which, obviously this Bullfrog Beer stuff just made it very clear who was recording that stuff that we actually have the demos for. So, very cool stuff. So, DJ Paco, keep doing it. Gel, of course, Jansen is also into the Kiss and related recordings, very much so as well. And those guys are carrying on what once interested me tremendously. So, cool stuff. All right, let's go into the board because we've got some good topics here this week, and it's your favorite Paul Stanley guitar playing. Mark, I'm going to throw that straight at you since you questioned me on it. You're like, what the hell do you mean by that?
Well, now that I kind of had it more clarified after going onto the board to see what other people answered with that, I have to say that my favorite Paul Stanley, I think that I'm going to mention two things. One is the 78 solo record. I have always thought that was one of his most stellar guitar performances. I mean, obviously, being that it's his own record, he wants to give it, his best performance and all his skill towards it. And I have to say, his rhythm guitar playing on that is fantastic. His tone of his guitar is so great on that record. And the thing that always makes me kind of like sit back and kind of be like surprised a bit is that he mentions that some of those songs they recorded in kind of thought of keeping it as like a demo and then just re-recording it in a better form, and ending up keeping it because he liked the way it sounded. And to me, those demo versions that he claims are demos sound fantastic. I mean, what a great guitar sound. I mean, I think most engineers and guitar players would love to have that good a guitar sound on their demos or even on their completed albums, never mind. So that's one thing that I pointed out. And another thing that I like to point out is, I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but there's a really great video on YouTube with Paul Stanley doing this endorsement for Ernie Ball Strings. They're doing all these different guitar players, and they're showing him for like 8 minutes just going through all kinds of Kiss songs, riffing on it on his Les Paul. And that to me just shows how fantastic a guitar player he is, because just hearing him play those songs on the guitar just by himself, I found myself several times just bopping along and just, singing along because he just plays it so well. It's just so intriguing, that he brought up a couple of great points. A lot of people are focused on lead playing and being the big, shredder lead gun guy, but not a lot of people focused on rhythm guitar playing, and he did. And it really shows because he can hold together a song by himself on that guitar. He can just pick it up, play, and he is like the ground foundation of that song. So I definitely recommend that to anybody who hasn't watched it yet.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with demos when you record them at Electric Lady Studios.
Yeah. That too.
That helps.
Yeah, Lonnie, what about you on this topic and and what you take away from it as a non-guitar player?
I love his sound on his solo record of 78. I have to agree. It's and I guess one of the reasons why we know it's all Paul Stanley, but the sound on that record is very different than what you got on the previous record on Love Gun. The guitar sounds are very contrast from one to the other, and it really highlights Paul Stanley as a guitar player, which is something that really gets overlooked throughout the history of the band, is his guitar playing ability. And when I saw him on the Live to Win tour in 2006, I was really impressed by his guitar playing. I mean, he had 3 other guitar players in the band, but he didn't just stand around though. He did play that guitar, and being that close in a club and watching him play was really cool to see, firsthand. So I'm going to go with the 78 solo album because it is such a different tone than what we've got on other Kiss records, and really showcases him, because you don't think of Paul Stanley as a guitar player. You think of Paul Stanley more as the frontman of Kiss, but he is, a fantastic guitar player.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ken?
Well, I mean, I have to agree with you guys about the 78 solo album, but I mean, it's all over that. But what I was thinking about was his riffs and his guitar playing on Rock and Roll Over. There's some just great riffs that he has, and I Want You and Take Me and, Making Love. And then I was watching a video out there, John 5 playing the Paul Stanley's PS10 or whatever, and he's playing some of the a few of the riffs, and he did Mr. Speed, and I thought, that is such a cool, great riff, and I mean that's one of the reasons I guess it's kind of a hidden gem. I mean, it's just a very cool riff and great sounding. I'm just watching him play, John 5 play. I was like, shoot, that's so cool. That's just a great, riff. And plus the other things besides Rock and Roll Over, Paul has done some, solos here and there, especially like, World Without Heroes, which is a great, nice solo. I mean, perfectly fits the song. It's just, I don't know. It's just, he knows how to write a good solo. It may not be a blistering solo. His is more, slower and melodic than, something like Ace would do. But man, when he does it really good. And so I like to hear when he does that.
Yeah, that you just took mine. That was my pick, A World Without Heroes, the guitar solo. Because today, with all that Vinny contract stuff flying around, I was, just flipping through Face the Music, looking for what Paul had said about Vinny's tenure with the band. And I just jumped into the part where Vinny's gone and, Paul's working with Mark St. John on Animalize in the studio. Oh. And I'll just read you the quote. Another time I said to him, sometimes it's not about what you play, it's about what you don't play. Listen to Jimmy Page, listen to Paul Kossoff, listen to Eric Clapton. Mark says, I could play faster than those guys. Houston, we have a problem. And that to me immediately made me think of A World Without Heroes, because it's not what's there. In essence, it's perfect for the song, and it's not requiring 1,000 notes to say what can be phrased in a bend or with emotion in the performance or execution of what is a very basic solo that fits the tone and everything about that song. I mean,
the feel.
Yeah. To have dive bombing and whammy bars in A World Without Hero would be idiotic, but also you could very easily overdo a soft solo by having the wrong one in there. Instead, having something that's very understated is memorable in itself. So, that was where I thought of Paul's guitar work being, extremely good. And of course, I think his rhythm playing, I think he plugs a very important hole on stage, even with his jumping around, prancing, and what he's able to hold down to allow the lead guitarist, whether it's Ace, whether it's Vinny, Bruce, or Tommy, to do their thing is very important. Just like their rhythm playing allows Paul, there's a very complementary relationship. But Paul's steering the live ship. So that's why I think his rhythm playing is so critically important to the band's live performance, especially with him singing at the same time. So A World Without Heroes for me is the outstanding pick, and Paul as the band's live rhythm guitarist, very, very, very important. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you could definitely overdo a solo in that kind of a song. And I mean, I always think of that example, but I also think of like people like David Gilmour. Like, he's never been about, huge dive bombs and huge fast blistering things. He's always been more about the feel of a song and playing less is more for him. It's more about his sound of it, the kind of reverb and delay he puts on his sound as well. That adds to the whole feel and the mood of the song. I mean, one of the most basic examples of that is B.B. King. I mean, the guy can say more with 3 notes than most people can say in like 1,500 notes, right? But that's just a really simple blues example of it, right? But, it's true. I mean, you sometimes have to think about what fits the song more than what's going to impress people listening.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And what you can do, did Gilmour in a bend, or what he will do with the whammy bar in order to extend that tone. Yeah. He's not yanking it all over the place. It's a very deliberate, slow, long, change of texture. So, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of funny to talk about Paul Stanley in that way when you put him in kind of the realm of virtuosos like Gilmour and Clapton. I mean, come on. Yeah. But Paul Stanley, I think, holds his own. And I saw that Ernie Ball video. That's fantastic. Find it on YouTube. It's a really fun bit of playing. Paul being very Paul. And it's not too long ago either. I think the last 3 years or something.
Yeah, it's very recent, actually, because that whole thing is very new.
Yeah, so, all right, let's move on to another topic from the board. And Lonnie, we'll start with you on this. Which hit did you like the most, 1983 to 1992? Now, you can get Revenge out of the system and mention it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's a no-brainer thrown at me for this era. I mean, Unholy off Revenge is the best hit from 83 to 92. You guys can...
Was it a hit?
Were there a lot of hits between 83 and 92?
Were any of them? I mean, what? I mean, Crazy Nights in the 60s, Reason to Live at 66. Right. I mean, it's all very relative. This is Kiss numbers. This is Kiss math.
This is Kiss hits. Exactly right. These are called Kiss hits.
It made the top 100.
If it's a single, we can call it a hit. I mean,
exactly.
If it made it on the 7-inch vinyl, it was a hit.
Greatest
or
hits
a video. Yeah.
What does that mean?
So you're going with Every Time I Look at You, right? That was your pick?
It's Unholy. It's Unholy for me for so many reasons. Just the sound of Unholy, the way Kiss came back with a vengeance in 92 with Unholy. I mean, it's really in my opinion, it's really an unfair comparison. You should really call it the best hit between 83 and 89, because in my opinion, you put Revenge on there, well, it just mutes anything else in there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Look It Up, I like Asylum, like Julian and Mark do, but it's Unholy. It's not even a question. Best unmasked song there is.
Okay.
Did you say?
Well,
did you say 80 to 92?
83.
83.
83 to 92.
Yes. Yeah, it takes out I Love It Loud out of the equation, and
right.
Yeah, and The Oath. All right, Mark.
Darn it.
Well, for me, I mean, I think Lonnie has a lot, firm ground to stand on as far as his pick. But you know how it is. We all have our favorites, and it's no secret that I love Asylum very much. So for me, I would always go back to something from there. And for me, I've always loved Who Wants to Be Lonely. I always thought that was a fantastic song, and I always figured that to me was one of my favorites from there. I mean, the 3 songs that everybody usually talks about from that album, like Tears Are Falling and Who Wants to Be Lonely, and then I guess All Night would be probably putting that as well. But I mean, for me, it's Who Wants to Be Lonely.
Yay! So you went with Asylum. Makes me happy when people say nice things about Asylum. Can always
it's a great album.
Can always count on you and Daniel. All right, Ken. What about you? Give us the voice of reason's answer.
This is different.
Just because you like the video, doesn't mean that.
Yeah,
songs.
right.
Well, no, the question is, which hit do you like the most? So
it's to you. It's a personal question.
It's
right?
it's multiple choice, but there is no right answer. I mean,
well, I mean, I it's really Unholy. Is an easy one for me to pick, but I feel it's too easy for me to pick.
Correct.
So
it's not even fair.
So I'm gonna pick something else. So you're not gonna go with the odds. If I was not really. If I was gonna pick, I'm gonna pick a single. All right. But if I wasn't gonna pick a single, if I was like Daniel from Sweden, I'd pick fits like a glove or whatever.
Which was released as a single in Swaziland.
Was it really?
No, I have no idea.
I was gonna say wherever that is.
You can make up anything. It's on the internet. It must be true.
You can make up anything.
But I'm going
with. Should be a segment on this show. You can make up anything.
So I'm gonna go with All Hell's Breaking Loose, just because I love that riff so well and the gang vocals on it. I just always liked that song a lot, and I think it's underrated as far as I'm concerned as a Kiss song. So I'm going with that. I'm gonna do it.
Well, I saw this question on the FAQ, and I was like, well, there was only really one hit, and
Forever.
That was Forever, and then I was like, but in England, God gave rock and roll to you.
Wait a minute, you missed something. Crazy Nights.
Crazy shites. I've Brexited. I don't have to like anything Kissed it in England anymore. All right. What am I gonna pick? God. I'm going with God Gave Rock and Roll to You too.
That's a good pick too. It really is.
So it's not revenge.
And not because it's on revenge. No, I mean
because it has Eric Carr in the video. It has 2 Erics on it, and it sums up, a lot of things that you could just hear coming from Paul, and Kiss's anthemic outlook on life, and it's really positive, it's upbeat, it's happy. So why the hell do I like it? Christ.
Bob Ezrin produced it.
Yeah. So
that's a good representation though of the non-makeup era. It's a great representation of the non-makeup era with Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick in the video. Mm-hmm. It's a great representation of that era.
And actually, to be honest with you, it's one of the productions that I don't really hate from Bob. I'll actually give him a pass on that.
Clip that off. Clip that off.
High praise.
Save that.
Keep waiting for one of these days to see Bob looking through the window behind Mark while we're doing the show. And he pulls something up.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Tapping with a shovel.
Hey,
I'm gonna clip that off.
Guess who's here?
I'm not gonna play it on the next episode. I'm gonna clip that little sound.
Be like the Shining.
I don't hate it from Bob, and I'm clipping that off. My new text tone every time I get a text. I don't hate that from Bob Ezrin in Mark's voice.
Shoot.
All right, let's move on here because I think I'll be digging into the board very shortly for more. In one word, what did each original member bring to the band in your opinion? Now, asking a Kiss fan to say one word is like trying to teach a dog to ride a bicycle. It can be done, but it's a bit pointless and futile. Ken, which
you had to start with me.
I had to because I haven't done any preparation for this show yet,
right.
So I really need a couple of minutes.
Show prep.
Here we go. All right. So, all right. Ace, he brought Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And balls?
And balls.
That's why I answered that.
Basketballs. And then Peter, he brought Swing.
Mm-hmm.
Swing.
Good. That's a good one.
Nice.
Swing. Paul. Boy, it's a hard one. Brought I'm saying one word: showmanship.
Mm.
And Gene's. This is going to be a hard one. Gene brought
His wallet.
From my wallet.
Is his what is it called? Vision. I'm going to say vision.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, no, that's
Not bad.
That's a good
And
start.
that's without saying, that Paul brought his, guitar, rhythm or something. But
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going a different way
Yeah.
with that.
Okay.
But one word. Yeah.
All right. Who of these next two guys? Which one looks most worried about me picking them next? Mark.
Well, I guess I would say that Paul brought soul. His kind of approach to everything, especially his introductions.
Motown.
Gene brought money. His visions have always brought in money for Kiss.
Yeah.
That I think that's very obvious. Ace brought the solos because he's the man behind the solos, and without him and his soloing, I don't think they would have been as catchy. And I think Peter brought problems because if it wasn't for
Wow.
if it wasn't for all the punching of the mirrors and the I'm quitting if there's no drum solo on this record and stuff like that. If he didn't bring, but it's important. He brought that kind of tension that brought the fire to the music.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fire! That's a better
Good
one.
save.
There you
Way
go.
to backpedal.
Nice. There you go. All right, Lonnie, would you like a shovel?
I will go. I will say Peter brought soul to the band.
Yeah,
Oh,
I could see that.
okay.
I will say Ace brought moxie.
Moxie.
There's a good-
Moxie. I was trying to think of a better word of flash. Ace just has a certain style. What's a better word for style is moxie. There's just something different about Ace, what he brings, different than anyone else. Paul brought persistency. He was very persistent and never gave up on the Kiss dream. No matter what, with the interchanging members in the 80s, he's very persistent in what he wanted. And I have to agree with Ken that Gene brought vision to the band. It was Gene's vision, what Gene wanted.
Nice. So that sets me up for failure wonderfully. Thank you all for your excellent contributions
That's
and
the
thoughts.
first about going last.
Yeah. So Peter, danger. That again, it's kind of the threats of quitting, the shooting of Christmas trees, the energy and aggression with which she performed, and kind of everything that goes with that. Gene, money. I thoroughly believe that because of what he brought into the band, that he already had a stash, and he was able to loan Peter and Ace money at times, was an important part of that. I mean, he had a mimeograph as well, so all the things that he had invested in prior, the band reaped the rewards of that investment Gene made in himself. So,
Are you saying he printed money?
Printed ads on the mimeos.
I know, I'm joking.
You remember what those colors were on a mimeograph? You ain't getting anything that looks like a banknote out of one of them. So,
remember the smell.
Ace, I think lackadaisical. I can't think of how to turn that into
laid back,
unpredictable.
There you go.
That you just never knew what you were going to get out of Ace, whether he was actually going to give a shit or deliver you something, give you something brilliant, as is very clear from the kind of the lead work that he brought in the early days, and the response from Gene and Paul in particular when they first brought him in as a lead guitarist, that they recognized they needed someone who could be inventive, because Paul was not that guy, and Paul knew his limitations. So I think the unpredictable nature of Ace's art, obviously had a dearth of like range, from the brilliant to what was his ultimate downfall with the band. And Paul Stanley, heart. I had written down here panache, but I think that'd probably be a more appropriate for Ace. But heart, determination, and he was the heart of the band from the beginning. So,
well, what if you went a little into the other former members of the band?
Okay, Eric Carr.
Eric Carr. Sweet. I'd say Eric Carr was known as a sweet guy. So sweet, right? Vinny, talented. Bruce. I'm not going to.
Whoa, you forgot Mark St. John. Come on.
I know. Sorry. Okay. All right, Mark. Missing. Bruce. Upstanding. And then who we got? Eric, singer. Technician. And then Tommy. Am I missing anybody? Tommy, dependable.
Depends.
Wow.
He's not that age. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Eric. Eric, rejuvenation.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Vinny, songs. Mark, hope. Hope this one works out. Yeah, Bruce. I mean, dignity.
Yeah.
Eric Singer, technician. Something along those lines, and Tommy again, dependability, reliability. I think I like more than dependability. Yeah. Reliable, without a fault. Mark, you want to throw a word at any of these gentlemen? You froze as well.
Eric Carr.
Oh, there you
What's
go.
that?
You're back.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I was gonna say Eric Carr. I just think I put fun for him. I mean, he ever since he joined it, he just seemed like he was a guy who won the lottery. You know what I mean? So he brought fun. Vinnie Vincent. I'd have to agree with Julian. I think that was the first thing that came into my mind immediately when I thought of him, because I didn't want to think of anything negative to say about him. So I was going to think. I definitely think that songs. He definitely brought a whole level of songwriting to them. So songs for sure. As far as Mark St. John, I'm going to say sad, because it was definitely sad about what happened with him. I mean, he had the keys to the on the silver platter, and then he just dropped them. Not much to his fault. It was a health issue, right? But you can't help but feel bad for that.
Eric Singer. I don't think he actually brought anything to the band, to be totally honest, because he was just a cookie cutter that they were trying to fill in that type of player in the mid 1980s, and it wasn't anything that he was really bringing. It was just that was what he could do, and he couldn't do it the same twice. So it was kind of a desperate move by the band with all the Vinny stuff going on.
Yeah. So I mean, Eric Singer. The one word that comes to me right away is solid. That guy. You can place him in any band, and he can just, be the backbone in any situation, I think. I mean, look at, the guy played with Alice Cooper. He jumped in the Revenge era with Kiss. Then he was able to do the sort of old school Kiss stuff when they toned him down a bit with his drumming. And I mean, he's even in Paul's, Soul Station. So that's got to tell you that, he's dependable on all fronts, right? Mm-hmm. So there you go. Bruce Kulick, I mean, he's always been my favorite member of Kiss, and there's 1,000 words that come to mind when it comes to him. But I just say again, the first thing that comes to mind is dependable. I mean, that guy, you can give him any song and tell him you need a solo, and he'll give you something more than fantastic for it. So I definitely think that describes him best. And Tommy Thayer, I'm going to say, I'm trying to think of a good word with him because he's really an interesting one that came into Kiss. And I would say maybe I think assistant is a good word because before he even was a guitar player, he assisted them with everything,
that can be taken into a lot of things.
Bring
me some coffee.
Well, that's how he got hired. If you read that book, it says that when Gene hired him initially, he said that it might just be, get me a cup of coffee or something initially because he didn't know what he was going to do with him at first, but he just liked him, right? So there you go. He was a coffee runner to begin with.
Do whatever it takes. I mean, come on. Yeah. How many people in their jobs?
I'd do it if Kiss said they'd hire me.
Yeah.
Just bring me coffee. I'll do it.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, Gene. 1 lump or 2.
Yeah.
Here, smell the ether.
2, please.
So did you? What word did you come up with for him?
Oh, assistant.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Coffee.
Lonnie, you want to throw in any on these non-originals?
Eric Carr, I have underappreciated. I think he's a very underappreciated member of the band. I think what he brought in during his time gets overlooked because they overlooked the 80s. Vinny, I agree with Ken, brought talent to the band. Mark brought 2.5 shows. Bruce brought steadiness in a time when they really needed. Eric, I'm going to say, is the savior. He saved their asses after Eric Carr died. He saved their asses on the farewell tour. And he saved their asses again when he came back in 2004. He's the savior. And Tommy brought resolution.
You had a time to think of that, eh?
Because he's resolute. All right.
Pardon the hell out of me. Just because my list is better than yours.
All right. Well, one of the other topics, that was on my list was in the Live 3 with the Vinny lineup. But I think we've kind of talked about that one before. And there's a couple of other threads that have popped up over the last 2 days that I think are a little bit more interesting than that. Number one, and I'm just going to draw your attention to this out there. If you're on the board, you can go, and it's actually been online for a very long time. You can read the contract that Vinny was purportedly offered by Kiss. And it's a very interesting discussion now that it's being talked about more. That if anyone's ever wondered why he didn't sign it, you only have to read some bullet points out of this thing to know that it's basically unsignable from an artistic point of view. Why he didn't counter and come back, with other stuff or try and leverage himself at a time that the band was desperate, it really boggles the mind. And it makes it, very clear that Kiss were without a manager at the time, and the people who were running the show weren't entirely running the show, or they already knew that they hated Vinny. So go into that thread. It's what the hell is it called? Vinny Vincent.
His contract posted.
Mark, you've had a chance to scan it. What were some of your initial impressions on it?
Well, I mean, the thing that right away that jumped out at it to me was the fact that if he signed it, he'd be giving away all his rights to like songs that he would write, later, or songs that he had written before. Like the amount of stuff that he would give up in signing this is just unbelievable. I mean, I didn't have a chance to thoroughly go through it, but it's just funny, the amount of stuff that he loses in this. I mean, and that's a good point that you brought up because, sure, these things are sometimes written in such a way that you do need a lawyer because they could word it in such a way that you could, get confused and think it means one thing when it really means another thing. But, like they kind of it looks like they almost try to lure him in at first because they say, they offered him $2,000 a week, which is healthy cash in '82. And then he got a $50,000 advance against his royalties. And so all those things are kind of made to look like, yeah, he had it good, and it says here, he was also gifted at least 3 weeks paid vacation per year. So all these things are kind of like, like, come on, man, sign it. You're not going to get a better offer than that. But if he was smart enough to, which he probably was, obviously, since he didn't sign it, when you look down at some of these other things, it's unbelievable, like, what he would have gave up. Publisher shall have the right to use the name, photograph, and likeness of writer and biographical material concerning writer for advertising purposes, trade, otherwise, without restriction and connection of the composition. It's like he has no say in anything, pretty much. Anything that he writes and that he has written, it's going to be all Kiss owned, and that's just absolutely like, wow. I would never have signed it. Like, you gotta give him at least props for that.
And the copyrights. I mean, that really is just the, everything that he's writing or creating, he gets to give to them first. And if they don't want it, they don't have to use it, and they can keep him from using it anywhere else. So, $1,000 in 1983 is worth $2,500 now.
Yeah.
So just, $5,000 a week, basically in 82, 2000 cut down to $2,500 a week. And then it went down to $600, didn't it? So.
Yeah. It says here too, it says that the band offered him just over $1,500 for complete control over his Lick It Up contributions, despite being paid approximately $65,000 in royalties. To put that into perspective, Sting reportedly earned $1,000 US a day for every breath you take. That's $356,000 US a year for one song.
Yeah, but that's every breath you take. Nothing on.
Yeah, well, okay, but I'm just
nothing on Kiss's kind of level. That's just an outrageous.
But Lick It Up
example.
was a big song.
Yeah,
right. Lick It Up was a pretty decent song.
And it's still in the set. So yeah, is it a big song in terms of Kiss? And I think they own the copyrights now anyway because of the Supreme Court decision not to allow his appeal. So I mean, he cashed the $50,000 check. So I believe he lost everything. And that's where the argument comes from. But I think what makes it just interesting reading is you don't have to be a lawyer to know that that's a bad deal. And that's the part that's very clear, that it's an aggressively negative, kind of preying on, well, here's your chance to make it. And from Kiss's, point of view, they've done all the work. They've done all the investment in building Kiss into a brand. So why should they say, number one, it makes it very clear that he's a hired hand, not a member of the band. Gene and Paul are the owners. Eric knew his role, and they were never going to give that up, and that's perfectly fine. But Kiss has also had 10 years building Kiss into the brand, so you can see why it's mercenary, because they don't want anyone coming in and profiting off them, because I guess to their way of thinking, that stuff's only a success because it's attached to the name Kiss in the first place. Otherwise, it's just Vinny Cassano, the grocer from Bridgeport.
Yeah, and you know what? Another interesting thing about this, though, is that recently he's been, doing these, kind of ads about his upcoming events that he wants to do. And every once in a while you see him in these kind of makeup shots with like some of the Unk designs and stuff like that. And it says here in this point 10, it says the makeup, the likeness, the costume, the name, the whiz, and the character created hereunder together with all other names and likeness, makeup, and character of any other members of Kiss, together with the name Kiss, are and shall always remain the sole property of Kiss. So obviously, they're probably being either lenient with him, that he's kind of, donning a bit of this costume and makeup. Maybe they don't care about it, but obviously they could nail him if he did sign it, right?
Well, he did sign it, so and they didn't trademark it, so
there you go.
Lonnie, at this point, are you really sick of Vinnie Vincent?
No, I'm not sick of Vinnie Vincent. I'm not going to say that I'm sick of Vinnie Vincent. I still wish Vinnie nothing but the best, and I know some people may roll their eyes at that, but I know he's maybe misled some people at times, or maybe that's being nice, but there's a soft spot in my heart for Vinny, and I always wish him nothing but the best, and I don't understand that. In a world where we're supposed to be tolerant and accepting to everyone, why in the Kiss world, Vinnie Vincent is nothing more than a free target. It's okay to hate Vinnie. It's okay to bash Vin. In certain parts of the Kiss world, it's okay. He's a free target.
Oh, no, I know.
And I think that's terrible. And I've had this rant on the show before. And I just think it's very sad that why is he a target? But if I go online and I bash someone else, oh, that's terrible. You're supposed to be acceptance to everyone. You're supposed to be acceptance to all types of people. If I want to, but Vinny, oh, it's okay if you want to bash him. And people laugh about it and they think it's just a free gag. And that's not right. In a world where we want to be accepting everyone, that's not right. Does he have a set of problems? Sure. You know what? Everyone has their own set of problems. But I don't go online bashing other people. So why is Vinny a free target?
Yeah.
And that's not what we were talking about, but it's something that just bothers me all the time.
Mark's holding up a picture for those
more than it should.
who aren't watching. He's holding up a picture of Vinny and his backwards strung guitar.
Yeah,
Right.
which is very head scratching. Why it's strung like that?
Hell, I don't know. Well, my view on this contract is, yeah, it's a bad contract, obviously. I think it's part of a negotiation from Kiss's point of view. Is, well, we're gonna come in, very low here, and with a low offer, on all counts, and see if he comes back with anything or just signs it. I think they were just hoping that he would just sign it. So from what I can tell, or historically, that I don't think Vinny came back with a counter offer to negotiate. Now, maybe he did, and we just don't know about it. But I have a feeling he didn't. He just said, no, I'm not going to sign that. It's crap. So maybe him just saying I'm not going to sign it, or Kiss was not going to change their contract to something else. But maybe Vinny could have gotten a lawyer and had them, rewrite something up.
I don't think he wanted to.
No, maybe.
I think by that time, and by the time that he was stringing them along, yeah, I'll sign it. And I think there's a lot more to the story than we're getting from just reading, Paul's book or, this version of the contract. I think he knew he didn't want to be in the band. Pretty soon after getting involved, I think he immediately saw it as a springboard to something bigger, and that by not signing it, he thought he'd leverage it into a 7-record deal with, for himself, which is exactly what he did in essence. By 84, they're into the rehearsal studio by the end of March, early April. So they had moved on. They may have been hoping that Vinny came back with a bucket full of songs that would have made Animalize a hell of a lot better. But I think by that point, he'd already been fired once, and come back, and the solo issues and the behavior that Paul kind of describes. I think it's almost like he was deliberately sabotaging. I mean, he's like Antonio Brown in the Oakland Raiders. I mean, pouring his food back into the pot, and on everyone, and just being a jackass on stage. I think by that time he saw himself as, well, I've written all these great songs for this band. I'm not giving them anything else because I'm not going to, now I know how they're going to treat me. I've seen the deal. I've seen my pay go down while my contributions have gone up. I can get a deal off this now from this notoriety that I've gotten as a member of KISS, because most people don't know the difference between a hired hand and the guy who's up on stage playing those solos off the exciting new album. So I think that there's a lot more to it than just a bad contract. I think it's great to understand from Vinny's perspective and have a little bit more empathy. That's a shit sandwich, that contract.
Yeah, it's not.
That's like just put a kick me sign. Just walk around with a kick me sign.
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely horrible. But I think it's a reaction to his behavior as well. because
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure that he didn't want to be in KISS any more than using it as somewhere to get where he wanted to go, because he wanted to be KISS. He wanted to be the marquee name, and look how that worked out. And then look at, one of the other things that someone mentioned in the thread is look at how he treated his people with his contracts. So he learned from the best.
He learned from the best.
For sure.
And the same thing happened to him. Mark Slaughter used being in Vinnie Vincent as a springboard for Slaughter and his band,
Well, the record label, number one, the record label loved him and more than Vinny. They're like, oh, we can get you another guitarist. So
Dime a dozen.
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. I want to just finish up on one of the threads it's one of those ones that I usually don't like and I don't participate in. It's your favorite what is it? The favorite memory on the FAQ. I'm just trying to can't even find it. I mean, a high point of your membership on the board, other than us all coming together as a podcasting family. What's my favorite memories on the FAQ? It's when I find someone who I've banned 20 times before, and they say something, and all of a sudden you know who that fucker is, and you're like, ban hammer. That's the one that keeps on giving, because there is no technical way to keep people gone, as I keep explaining. So it's just, every once in a while, Rising Force is great at ferreting out these wankers, and he's just like, hey, I think so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm like, oh yeah, let's keep an eye on him. And then when you get the match and you're like, ha, got you, bitch. and then they're going to be back in 10 minutes with a new name, but they've had to go sign up for a new email address and go through all that rigmarole.
Just to put them through the hassle of it, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's just that little game of whack-a-mole you play, ping pong. It goes, and we'll just continue doing it for the next 10 years. Not. Mark.
Yeah, well, for me, actually, my favorite memory from the board actually is from a ways back, and this actually has something to do with you, Julian, because back before you got used to post those those little album focus things that you used to do, like about each album on there. Like I remember reading a few of them off of the board. Like there was a Hotter Than Hell one, and I started getting really into reading these album focuses that you would post. In fact, I have a binder somewhere back here, like this thick, when I printed every single one of them out, and I had like every record that you talked about in printed out form here. And that's one of my favorite memories, was I loved reading those things. I was always looking for different ones all the time, and I was like, hey, there's an Alive one. I'd go and get my printer hooked up and print it all out, and then I'd have something to read later on. I did that for every one that you did, and that's one of my favorite moments from being on the board. To be honest with you, that was one of the things that got me coming back to this board all the time.
Nice, thank you, Lonnie.
My favorite memory of the board goes back to 2004.
Holy shit!
I know, it was a very dark period in my life. I was going through some really hard times personally. And I'd get home from work, and I would spend a lot of time on the board, not just in the threads, but I had multiple friends on the board that we would just direct message on the board, and it really, really cheered me up in a very bad time in my life, where I met some connections from people who lived in St. Louis, or people who lived like in Memphis and Nashville. Would have conversations with them just about KISS and just about good things in life. And it really brought me a lot of joy in a lot of bad time, in a very down time in my life. And it's because of the FAQ, and it kind of kept me going in a hard time. So that's my best memories of the board.
That's a
nice.
That's a nice positive thing about the board. Sometimes people forget that.
People
do get positive things out of it, even with sometimes there's a lot of focus
as much
on
as
the
it gets
negative.
labeled a shit show. The board has done good things for people, and it's done good things for me outside of this podcast.
Yeah, it's connected a lot of people as well. I mean, sure, it makes you hate some posters, but you do find people of a similar mindset, and often they've gone on to do other things elsewhere, which is incredible, especially with what it's given back to the community. So, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Mark about the KISS album focus stuff that you did. I used to read that stuff, and I used to maybe not print out every single thing of it, but when you released the first books or second, I think it was the second edition. I bought that one way back, but otherwise, I liked the board for lots of times I'm learning a lot of new things. I mean, I don't know everything about Kiss, but every now and then you hear something. It's like, oh crap, really? That guy was played on that album, or did something, or was involved with this or that, or something like that. The other thing is when I like it when, for instance, the build-up for either the new album that's coming out, or big Kiss news that's coming, or a tour that's about to start. There's a lot of activity around that. The first shows of a tour and all that. I mean, it's a lot of cool, discussions going on about that stuff, or new music and so on that has happened in the past. So I just really enjoy learning some new things, and then getting involved with some of the excitement that happens when Kiss starts and does some new whatever it may be
venture.
New adventure.
Yep. I'm amazed it's still going. I mean, number one, having had my finger on the trigger, the delete button, many a time when I get frustrated at it, technically it's actually been pretty solid the last few years, ever since I fixed that one bug, which was just infuriating, and the performance of the board just stabilized completely. That's been good. But, also, I think proving the naysayers wrong. Oh, Facebook's going to kill traditional message boards. Yeah, a lot of people have moved on into their own little groups on Facebook where they can make their rules and, guide the conversation in the direction that they want. And that's cool. But I think it's all very complimentary, because we get a lot of back chatter between, hey, check out this on this Facebook group, and then on Facebook you say, hey, check out this on the FAQ. So I think there's a healthy parallelism going on, that people are doing their own thing elsewhere, but as part of a larger KISS community, all these components are critically important and, very much valued. So we're still there. We've still got some people who don't do Facebook as well, so gives them a home.
That's true as well.
Yeah. So, all right, let's leave that there. That's a bunch of topics from the board. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground today. What are some of your thoughts on the topics that we've discussed? What did we get wrong? That's what we always love to hear. You tell us how we're wrong, because you're right. For you,
God knows we are.
Yeah, for you, we were wrong, and that's cool. We can take it. We allow differing opinions without any rancor whatsoever. I've definitely been watching too much of House of Commons TV the last 2 weeks, so almost starting to feel like the Speaker of the House there. All right, so let's leave that there. We shall see you next time. So for now, from Mark, from Lonnie, Ken, and myself, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.